You know, all these great memories are starting to help me remember. The formula could be in the no. Hold on, no. Maybe it's in the no. Or maybe I put it in I can't remember.
This is not getting me closer to my goal of you shutting up. Wait, I remember a certain jolly fellow that you and I had the pleasure of meeting one fateful night.
Oh, you don't mean David has the...
Santa Claus, you dolt.
Oh, Santa!
Ho, ho, ho.
Right as the level starts, we're introduced to a new enemy type, the Boom Bot. We can deflect its shot back at it, and after it's incapacitated, we can ride it around. It flashes different colors, and after it flashes red, it will explode. We can make it detonate early by hitting it with our cannon shot, though. There are a lot of obstacles that we will use these new Boom Bots to destroy. Instead of deflecting their shots back at them, we can also just hit them with our normal attacks. But I want to at least show off the shot deflection a few times. And hopefully show off that its hit detection is really messed up, like right here. Make no mistake, each of these times I am hitting the shot. It's just not deflecting. Maybe when the game can't figure out how to send the shot back, it just destroys the shot instead. I mean, this game could have a lot of small issues like that, because I don't know what the budget was. And although the graphics certainly seem polished, there's a lot about this game that makes it seem like it was made very quickly. Including the music from Battle for Bikini Bottom. And the fact that it was based on a TV special that not very many people care for. But at least we got a fun game out of it. I like all the Christmas lights in the background. And that this takes place in the Krusty Krab's freezer. Because that's actually kind of a cute place to put a Christmas-themed level, I believe. Oh, and for anyone curious, this particular music is from the Goo Lagoon in Battle for Bikini Bottom. There's a Boom Bot embedded into this ice wall right here. So we actually have to shoot this one with our cannon shot. And we'll see some creative variations of that obstacle later. Now right here again, you can see the hit detection on the deflections kind of screwing themselves. That's okay, because it's not like that enemy is particularly difficult, or like that mechanic is even important. It would just be nice if it worked all the time. For this next part, we're going to have to lead one of these Boom Bots through a mini maze. And get them to the end before they explode. Which may actually sound kind of challenging on paper. But it's not. We have to clear this ice block out of the way to make a path through the mini maze first. At the end here, there are a ton of robots. It's best if we get out of the way early. Because trying to steer the Boom Bot past them can actually be quite a hassle. I mean, it's unlikely that that situation would end in your death, but even if it did, we have over 40 lives right now. Hopefully right now I'm not making this game look terrible, because it's certainly not terrible. It's actually quite fun to play. There are certainly better SpongeBob games, and it may draw a lot of bad comparisons to those, but they're also certainly much worse. By bad comparisons, I don't mean that the comparisons are invalid, I just mean that the comparisons almost always have a negative conclusion, that this game isn't as good, which it's not. Here's a cooler version of an obstacle we've already seen. I actually really like that, because you have to aim pretty well. You get infinite tries, though, so it's not like it's the most challenging thing that ever was. And this room is more buff SpongeBob. If we get hit, it will respawn, thankfully. Because there are some happiness tokens underneath this ice that we can't reach without it. And what would we do without more happiness tokens? But in all seriousness, I like that buff SpongeBob can break the ice. That's actually really cool. I don't believe it's ever used for any practical reasons. So if you've been paying attention to the pattern this game usually goes through, we have the Boom Bot mechanic, and they should be introducing a second main mechanic to the level very shortly, so that way you don't get bored. And we're almost there. We've got a few more Boom Bots first. And there's also a really cute piece of SpongeBob trivia up here just to tide you over. Granted, it's a really hard to hear piece of trivia, but yeah, in the episode, Santa Squid actually gave that child a tool and said it was a new doll. But he didn't actually have any dollies on hand, and he was just trying to be nice. For some reason, I hit that projectile twice, and it bounced in the opposite direction twice, which is kind of impressive. This next timer is also super lenient, and the worst thing you can do is jump before you should. Because these steam vents don't hurt very much, but they do knock you down, and having to restart the timer after you wait for it to run out is a minor annoyance. Up here is another big spinny robot, which you've already seen one of those. But this time he breaks through a wall of ice, so he gets a special cutscene. The idea is to wait until it stops spinning to attack it, but I was not that patient. And there are 2 boxes of health just sitting here, so it's not like we were in any danger. Now it's time for a hallway just full of smashable crates. And nothing else. No enemies or anything like that. They did have to connect these big rooms somehow, and sometimes that means hallways that are completely, separate from the current game design. Just a little break, if you will. And now it's time for that new game mechanic, gum wads. Presumably based on the gum wad that Patrick gifted SpongeBob. They just stretch out. And most of the gameplay with the gum wads revolves around going from gum wad to gum wad. One of the exceptions is this secret down here. But most of the time you're just going to go from wad to wad, and use them to cross gaps that you couldn't possibly cross with SpongeBob's normal jump. In spite of the fact that they send you farther than the normal jump, you have much more limited movement. After you choose to stretch, you can't control yourself. You just go straight to your destination. And that includes hitting any hazards you might find along the way. So timing is crucial. You could argue the aiming is more crucial, but the camera really helps with that. There's a special camera mode they just use while you're on the gum wads, and that's appreciated. You can completely ruin that camera by pressing the L button, which is supposed to center the camera behind SpongeBob, but it forces it to stick to a single direction instead of changing like it normally would. This isn't an issue when you're not on the gum wads, of course, and I don't think anyone would have thought to press the L button while they were on one, except for me. Gonna be honest with you, I don't know what these lasers do. I assume they hurt. And although it is reasonably difficult to avoid the ones that move up and down, I've never gotten hit by them to find out what they do. This is also the only time in the level these lasers actually appear. I assume to make use of the ice physics, but the ice physics are pretty much just a joke. The jellyfish jelly is a much better version of ice physics. Another empty hallway. And this room actually has 2 separate routes we can take, and I like that. Both of them involve the gum wads, though. And a lot of hazards. Honestly, this bit is probably my favorite. It puts the new mechanic to really good use, even though it is a very, very limited mechanic. And it's not often that this game gives you multiple ways to go. After we come through this next gate, we can briefly see the alternate pathway to our right. It's not all that different from the one we took, but it's still pretty neat. There's one last stretch of gum wads, and then we'll reach the boss, or mini-boss? Yeah, mini-boss. This one involves a timer and can be reasonably challenging if you're really bad at aiming. But if you're not, then you're fine. You can also jump off the wad after you stretch. You saw me do this earlier for the secret 3-up. The reason we're not doing it here is because I don't want to get hit by that fist. It's better just to be patient. And here is another hallway with pretty much nothing in it. The Tenderizer has 2 main attacks. He shoots and he smashes. After we get close, he stops shooting and starts smashing. After he smashes twice, he becomes vulnerable. Now we can deflect his shots back at him, but they don't hurt him. So we really just need to get close to him. He always tries to smash us in the same pattern, going left and then right. So after you see that pattern, then you're all good. After we do hit him, he creates a shockwave to knock us back. We can move back ourselves to avoid that. But if we do get hit with it, it doesn't hurt. He is a bit tougher than the wee yellow bot, if only because we have to engage him in a smaller area if we actually want to hurt him. With the wee yellow bot, we could just hop all around the arena after all, and we only had to get close when it was time to hurt him. So yeah, I think this about wraps up this level. We've actually only got 2 more to go. Kind of a far cry from the 30 to 40 minute levels in Battle for Bikini Bottom, but if the levels in this game were that long, it would be torturesome.
Guess I should have packed my winter clothes. There you go, Squidward clothes.